Hi, I'm Emily Carter. I'm 31 years old, and I never imagined that my own husband and my own sister would destroy my life in the same betrayal. If someone had told me 3 years ago that I would walk into a hospital nursery and find my husband holding newborn twins that weren't mine, and that their mother would be my younger sister, I would have laughed. But that's exactly what happened. And the worst part? That wasn't even the biggest secret. I met my husband Ryan when I was 25. He was charming, successful, and knew exactly what to say. 2 years later, we got married in Colorado, surrounded by family and friends. Everyone called us the perfect couple. My younger sister, Olivia, was my best friend. We shared everything: birthdays, vacations, secrets. She even stood beside me as my maid of honor. I trusted her more than anyone. For the first few years, life felt perfect. Ryan had a growing construction business. I worked as a marketing manager. We bought a beautiful house outside Denver. The only thing missing was a baby. After 2 heartbreaking miscarriages, doctors told me getting pregnant again would be difficult. Ryan held my hand and promised, "I don't care if we ever have kids. I married you, not your ability to have children." I cried in his arms that night, believing I had married the kindest man alive. Looking back now, I realize some people lie so beautifully that you mistake manipulation for love. About a year later, Ryan started working late, almost every night. Business trips, weekend meetings, emergency calls. Whenever I questioned him, he smiled and kissed my forehead. "Babe, I'm doing this for our future." I believed him, because that's what wives do when they trust their husbands. Around the same time, Olivia started acting strange too. She canceled family dinners, ignored my texts, claimed she was dating someone serious, but refused to introduce him. I teased her about having a secret boyfriend. She laughed nervously. "If everything works out, you'll meet him soon." I had no idea she wasn't talking about a boyfriend. She was talking about my husband. Months passed. One afternoon, Mom called. "Emily, have you heard from Olivia?" "No, why?" "She moved to another city without telling anyone." I was shocked. That wasn't like her. I tried calling. No answer. Texted. Nothing. Eventually, I convinced myself she simply wanted a fresh start. Life moved on. Until one rainy Tuesday morning, Ryan told me he had another business trip. 3 days. Chicago. He kissed me goodbye. 30 minutes later, his mother called. She sounded panicked. "Emily, Ryan's been in an accident." My heart nearly stopped. "What hospital?" She gave me the address. I drove faster than I ever had in my life, hands shaking, barely breathing. When I reached the hospital, the receptionist looked confused. No patient named Ryan Carter. Before I could ask another question, I saw my mother-in-law rushing down the hallway. Her face turned white. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You weren't supposed to be here." That sentence changed my life forever. My mother-in-law grabbed my arm before I could take another step. "Emily, please, let's go somewhere private." My stomach twisted. "What happened? Where's Ryan?" She wouldn't answer. Instead, she kept looking down the hallway as if she was terrified someone might see us. Then I heard it. A baby's cry, then another. 2 newborns crying at the same time. For some reason, I looked toward the nursery window, and that's when my world stopped. Standing inside the nursery, holding one baby in each arm, it was my husband, Ryan, completely healthy. No injuries, no accident, no business trip. He looked up. Our eyes met. The color drained from his face. For a split second, neither of us moved. Then he whispered one word, "Emily." I pushed through the nursery doors. "What is this?" He couldn't answer. Instead, another woman slowly stepped out of a hospital room. She was pale and exhausted, wearing a hospital gown. When she lifted her head, I forgot how to breathe. It was Olivia, my little sister. She froze just as much as Ryan had. Tears filled her eyes instantly. "Emily, I can't explain." I laughed, not because anything was funny, because my brain refused to accept what I was seeing.
You
Gave birth? She nodded. Then I looked back at Ryan. Then at the babies. Then back at Olivia. The truth hit me like a freight train. They're yours. Neither of them denied it. I don't remember screaming, but nurses came running. People started staring. Someone tried to calm me down. Ryan reached for my hand. I pulled away as if he'd burned me. How long? Silence. How long? Ryan finally looked down. Almost 3 years. 3 years. Our entire marriage. Every business trip, every late night meeting. Choose. Every lie. Every promise. Every kiss. I turned toward Olivia. You were my sister. She collapsed into tears. It wasn't supposed to happen. Really? It started after your second miscarriage. My heart shattered all over again. Ryan stepped forward. It was a mistake. A mistake? I pointed toward the nursery. Mistakes don't become twins. The hallway fell silent. Even strangers stopped pretending not to listen. Then, Ryan's mother suddenly spoke. Her voice was barely above a whisper. She didn't tell you? I looked at her. What didn't she tell me? Ryan immediately interrupted. Mom, stop. But she ignored him. She looked sick, as if she'd been carrying a secret for years. I thought you knew. Knew what? She took a deep breath. When you lost your second pregnancy, the doctors told Ryan you might never be able to carry another baby safely. I know that's... She slowly shook her head. No, Emily. There's more. Ryan closed his eyes, almost as if he'd already accepted defeat. His mother continued. He told us he was leaving you. What? He said the marriage was over because he wanted children. I felt my knees weaken. But he stayed. She nodded. Because your father, my father, he invested almost $2 million into Ryan's construction company after the wedding. I stared at her. What are you saying? Her answer changed everything. He never stayed because he loved you. He stayed because divorcing you meant losing everything. The hallway became completely silent. Every memory suddenly made sense. Every apology, every expensive gift, every fake anniversary, every speech about forever. It had all been an investment, not a marriage. I looked at Ryan one last time. So, I was just funding your life while you built another family with my own sister. He didn't deny it. Instead, he whispered, I'm sorry, for the first time that day. I smiled, not because I forgave him, because in that exact moment, I stopped loving him. And when love disappears, fear disappears with it too. I looked at both of them and quietly said, You two have no idea what you've just lost. Then I turned around, walked out of the hospital, and before I even reached my car, I called the best divorce attorney in Denver. That was the beginning, not of my heartbreak, but of my revenge. The next morning, I didn't cry. I didn't beg Ryan for answers. I didn't call Olivia. Instead, I sat across from one of the best divorce attorneys in Denver and told him everything. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and asked one simple question. Emily, do you want a quick divorce? Or do you want the truth? I want both. He smiled. Then don't confront them again. Let them think you're broken. That became my first move. For the next few weeks, I acted exactly the way Ryan expected. Quiet, heartbroken, defeated. He thought I was too devastated to fight back. What he didn't know was that my attorney had already hired a forensic accountant. Within days, shocking details began to surface. Ryan hadn't just lied about the affair. He had secretly used money from our joint accounts to pay Olivia's rent for nearly 3 years. He had bought her a luxury SUV. He had paid every hospital bill related to the pregnancy. And the biggest surprise, he had hidden hundreds of thousands of dollars through fake business expenses. Every document was carefully copied. Every bank statement was preserved. Every transaction became evidence. Then fate handed me something even bigger. One afternoon, Ryan called. His voice was unusually calm. "Emily, can we meet? We need to talk." I agreed. We met at the same little cafe where he had proposed to me 6 years earlier. He looked tired. "I know I destroyed everything," he said, "but we can settle this privately." I looked at him without emotion. "What do you mean?" "I'll give you the house. Just don't go after my company." There it was. He wasn't worried about losing me. He was terrified of losing his business. I simply smiled. "I'll think about it." He left believing I was considering his offer. In reality, my lawyer had already filed motions to freeze financial records before they could disappear. A week later, my father came to see me. He looked older than I had ever seen him. "Emily, there's something I should have told you years ago." I took a deep breath. "What is it?" "When Ryan started his company, he didn't qualify for the investment." "I know." So I made him sign a private agreement. I stared at him. "What agreement?" "If he ever committed fraud against our family or cheated you during the marriage." I had the legal right to demand immediate repayment of every dollar I invested. I was speechless. My father opened a folder. Inside was Ryan's signature. Every page had been notarized. My attorney looked at the document and smiled. "This changes everything." Within days, Ryan received 2 separate legal notices. One was for the divorce, the other demanded millions of dollars in repayment for violating the investment agreement. He called me over 20 times that night. I answered only once. "Emily, please. This will ruin me." I replied calmly. "You ruined yourself the day you chose my sister." Then I hung up. A few days later, Olivia unexpectedly showed up at my front door. She looked exhausted, holding one of the twins while the other slept in a stroller. She burst into tears. "I never wanted this." I looked at her quietly. "You wanted him." She couldn't deny it. She whispered, "He promised he'd marry me after divorcing you." I almost laughed. "He lied to both of us." She nodded slowly. Then she said something that shocked me. "He hasn't been faithful to me either." "What?" She handed me screenshots from Ryan's phone. Messages, photos, conversations with another woman. Even after destroying our marriage, he had already found someone new. At that moment, I realized something important. Ryan didn't betray me because of love. He betrayed everyone because that was who he truly was. I closed the door, looked at the growing stack of evidence on my dining table, and whispered to myself, the divorce was only the beginning. Now, he was about to lose everything he had spent years building. 3 months later, the day of the divorce hearing finally arrived. Ryan walked into the courtroom wearing an expensive suit, trying to look confident. But I could see the truth in his eyes. He hadn't been sleeping. His business was drowning in legal bills. Several investors had already pulled out. After learning about the financial investigation, his reputation, the thing he cared about most, was falling apart. For the first time since I met him, he looked scared. When the hearing began, my attorney calmly presented every piece of evidence. The hidden bank accounts, the money transferred to Olivia, the fake business expenses, the affair that had lasted for years, the signed investment agreement with my father. Ryan's lawyer tried to argue that his personal mistakes had nothing to do with the company. Then my attorney revealed one final document, an internal financial report proving Ryan had used company funds for personal expenses while hiding the transactions. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge looked disappointed. Ryan lowered his head. He knew it was over. After several hours, the judge announced the decision. I was officially divorced. I kept our home. Ryan was ordered to repay my father's investment under the agreement. He also faced separate financial investigations because of the fraudulent records. When we walked outside the courthouse, reporters were already waiting. Ryan tried to hide his face from the cameras. I simply walked forward without saying a word. Sometimes silence is louder than revenge. A week later, I heard that Ryan's biggest client had canceled its contract. Within months, his construction company filed for bankruptcy. The luxury cars were gone. The vacations were over. The house he secretly bought for Olivia was sold to pay debts. As for Olivia, she called me one last time. "I know you probably hate me forever," she said quietly. "I don't expect forgiveness," I answered honestly. "I don't hate you anymore." She was surprised. "I just don't trust you." There was a long silence. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry." This time, I believed she meant it. We ended the call peacefully, but we never became sisters again. Some broken things can be repaired. Others become reminders of the lessons that changed your life forever. 6 months later, I started over. I opened my own marketing agency. I rebuilt my confidence. I traveled. I smiled again, not because life had been fair, but because I had refused to let betrayal define my future. One afternoon, while having coffee with a friend, I saw Ryan across the street. He looked older than his age. He was alone. He saw me too. For a moment, it looked like he wanted to walk over and say something. Instead, he lowered his eyes and kept walking. That was the last time I ever saw him. People often ask me if revenge made me happy. The answer is no. Revenge didn't heal me. The truth did. Walking away did. Choosing myself did. Ryan thought he had won when he built a secret family behind my back. But in the end, he lost his marriage, his business, his reputation, his fortune, and the one person who had loved him without conditions. As for me, I didn't win because he lost. I won because I found the strength to rebuild my life. If there's one lesson in my story, it's this. Never let someone's betrayal convince you that you're worth less. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying the person who hurt you, it's building a life so peaceful and successful that they can never be part of it again.